Shin Megami Tensei 5 is a game with penis. Look at that length, that girth. It's a game with demons. Thank you okay. He just gave me an item and left. And it's a game that sometimes has demons with penis. Ew, what's ugly? What is that? Oh, is that? Oh! Oh, that thing got a dick! What the fuck? What the hell? Am I gonna get TOS for this? Now, I have been playing through Shin Megami Tensei 5 on my live streams and just in general lately, and if you've caught any of the live streams, you would know that it's been an experience so far. I'm gonna fucking scream. Oh my god. Now I want to make this review a bit of a quick one because in all honesty, I don't really have a whole ton to say about this game outside of just that I enjoyed it. And maybe there's one problem I have with it too, but we'll get into that as well. But overall, if I were to give you an assessment of Shin Megami Tensei 5 or SMT 5, what would I say the package offers? Well, it's an extremely brutally difficult RPG. It's a game that is really rooted in that early to mid 2000s difficulty of the old SMT games and old RPGs alike. And I really admire it for pulling no punches and making it extremely difficult yet very enjoyable and complex. The game offers a really heavy veneer of overpoweredness, but everything that you fight is also batshit crazy too, to the extent that like it really doesn't feel like you're ever overpowered. You have crazy abilities. Every single enemy has at least one exploitable weakness. You can have 8 actions in a single turn, but at the same time, your enemies can all do the same thing. They all have access to crazy moves that can instantly one-shot you or any people on your team. They have the ability to just make every single one of their hits critical hits. You and enemies likewise can just nuke the entire screen in a matter of seconds, and it's kind of thrilling to figure out different mechanics and work around certain enemies' weaknesses and strengths while you're organizing teams and playing through a game that is ultimately just a fun little challenge. Though the RNG aspect of a lot of things kind of does hurt it, but every RPG has RNG. It's whatever. I'm used to it at this point. But no, you've seen this title. You know I have something negative to talk about, and no, it's actually surprisingly not the difficulty of the game. I actually found it quite refreshing because in all honesty, a lot of JRPGs nowadays kind of have gotten really stale and boring because of how simple they are. It's very rare that an RPG can find a way to challenge me nowadays, especially a turn-based one. Usually it's just kind of mashing buttons and, you know, exploring options and stat boosting, but for the most part, whenever I'm playing an RPG, save maybe for a secret boss in it, I never really fear getting my party wiped, or I never really fear what I should be doing the next turn. You know, it turns less from a tactics sort of turn-by-turn RPG system to more of just a numbers crunching one, where the gameplay becomes the backdrop and the story becomes the forefront. And with SMT5, in all honesty, it was kind of the opposite. The gameplay was at the forefront for most of the experience for me, and the story kind of fell to the wayside. And with that said, I want to talk to you guys about the one major problem I had with SMT5. Yes, this game's story is awful. Now, I'm saying that in a joking manner, of course, but I'll be fully honest with you in saying that the first 30 hours of this game or so are absolutely boring as shit. There is very little enticing story or subplot, and it honestly feels like they were trying to appeal to the audience of the Persona fandom. They were kind of trying to make this game Persona 5 at home. The game opens up and introduces you to all these human characters, all these Japanese high school students that really offer no significance to the plot. In fact, most of them just kind of die halfway through the game and don't really have anything to do with the overall fight of angels and demons, which is the most enticing part of the plot. And in all honesty, none of these characters are likable or have any sort of engaging qualities or anything remotely charming or interesting about them at all. Hell, even the Nahabino is really boring, but it's actually kind of comical to the point where I kind of liked the Nahabino for that reason. Like the fact that, you know, all this crazy ass shit happens to this kid and he just stands there with a blank expression and doesn't ever say anything. It's okay. Bye, Ryuji. What? Why is his immediate reaction? You know, like, I feel like I would have so many reactions to watching an angel literally carry someone I know off into outer space. But the one reaction I don't think I'd ever have is to sit down and put my hands on my knees and be like, oh, bro, this walk. It actually kind of became really funny to me at some point. He just gets his whole entire essence fused with a fucking demon and he's like, oh, that's cool. The high school student gets tentacle porn by a monster and he's just like, alright, whatever. Yeah, no, that's not the problem I have with the game anyway. The problem I have with the game overall has to be the complete misfocus of all of these characters and of all of the story. Like, in all honesty, this game, the whole crux of it is you're going around, you're half demon, half human fusion. You're trying to fight the forces of evil, maybe with, you know, the potential coup of the forces of Bethel, of God, trying to work against you because they see you as this, you know, demonic evil presence. You know, all these combinations of story aspects are interesting enough to keep me going through the game regardless of anything else you tack on. The motivation of Bethel's forces to get rid of the Nahabino eventually, because although they need his power, they don't really like him or like the fact that he exists, is, in all honesty, a very compelling plot point, enough so that I don't need to have subplots about high school girls getting bullied or about some dude who looks like Ryuji complaining about the fact that he's not strong enough. It really doesn't have any significance to the plot, yet it takes the forefront of the story for at least the first 30 hours, and it's so boring, so dull. It seems that they wanted to kind of draw in aspects of the Persona series that, you know, people like. They like the relatable teenage high school life, you know, subplots where people are giving in to their temptations, and those temptations are manifest into kind of these otherworldly things like demons or monsters or things like that. And I mean, those aspects of Persona are cool. I love those aspects of Persona personally, but I don't like it when they're really half-assed in a story that doesn't have that focus. This game definitely tries to put its hand in too many cookie jars, right? It tries to appeal to too many audiences, and I think as a result it kind of doesn't satisfy any of them. Now, that's not to say that, again, I don't like the game. I loved this game, in all honesty, playing through it most of the time. I loved going around the overworld, exploring areas, collecting the Mimen, and doing all of the little objectives and side quests. I loved interacting with the demons and recruiting them. They all had hilarious voice lines, and in all honesty, it's probably the best part of this entire game is chatting with the demons, seeing what each of them have to say, kind of learning their personalities, and it was just the funniest part of the game for me, bar none. But it's difficult for me to say that playing through this game, I had any connection to it in a way that I would a JRPG of this type, because although I enjoyed my playthrough, although I thought it was a challenge, the story, the characters, the world were all a backdrop to the gameplay and the mechanics and the systems that really carried my experience through and through. And, you know, everyone hates this comparison. I'm just gonna say it anyway, fuck it. You know, I do see comparisons to Dark Souls in this game. Not in the sense of it being brutally difficult, though it is very difficult in a Souls-like way. Not in that way, though. That's not how I see the comparison to Dark Souls. I see this similar to Dark Souls in the sense that I don't really play Dark Souls games for the story, right? I mean, I don't think most people do either. I think maybe a lot of people are really interested in Dark Souls lore and mythology and the kind of underlying stories, you know, that go alongside it, but 99% of people play Dark Souls for the gameplay. They play it for the difficulty, the combat systems, and then the lore and the underlying plot that's seeped inside of it is something for people to go and explore later. And with this game, I loved reading the flavor text about different demons and angels. I loved kind of seeing the interactions that some of them would have with each other based on mythology, and just exploring different things and doing side quests for a lot of demons, like in the fairy forest, for example. The entire swath of side quests from demons inside that area were super engaging and interesting because it played on old mythological tropes and stories. But much like Dark Souls, this game really hinged on its gameplay. It hinged on the brutality, it hinged on you having to figure out moment-to-moment gameplay encounters, and it hinged on the thrill of the experience. I guess there is one little thing I do want to add before I end off the video here. The ending is actually pretty good. The last few hours of the game, I should clarify. Once Bethel has kind of defeated the Demon King and, you know, take on the creator's throne, you do have options to either take over the throne yourself as Nahabino, or kind of entrust it onto one of 3 different factions, each of which kind of presents a different religious viewpoint and offers commentary on said viewpoints, with Yuzuru's kind of being a polytheistic approach to godhood, or Dazai's and Abdiel's being the monotheistic religious approach, and then Shohei's and Nuwa's atheistic viewpoint. And that's pretty cool. I mean, I like that. It's a little on the nose for commentary, but I mean, it's very fitting, and it also kind of goes toward the series' overall kind of commentary on angels, demons, religion, and so on and so forth. Definitely an interesting aspect of the game. I just kind of wish it wasn't bogged down with characters who don't really do anything up until the final moments when they just dump their philosophies on you and dip. And that's really annoying. But yeah, you know, there are other minor gripes I had too, but it's not really worth it enough to talk about. You know, things like the platforming puzzles, or a lot of the backtracking near the later half of the game, or how pretty much the ending becomes really linear and kind of dull. But for the most part, again, I really loved my experience with SMT5. Could I recommend it to anyone? Honestly, no. If you're looking for an RPG with a significant challenge in difficulty, then honestly, this is the perfect game for you. This game will beat your ass so hard, and it's also really long. In fact, I think a little too long in my honest opinion. So you'll be sinking your teeth into this thing for a good maybe 60 to 80 hours in all honesty just to beat the game. But, you know, if you're looking for a gripping narrative about some teenager who turns into a demon and has to fight angels and demons, you're not really going to find that here. Sure, there are peaks and little glimmers of interesting aspects of the story, and most of it's stuff you'll hear in any kind of mythological RPG story that has to do with angels and demons, which is pretty much every other Shin Megami Tensei game. If you're looking for a challenge, this game will provide it. I just wish it really didn't spend so much of its time focusing on the boring high school students that have nothing to do with the angels versus demons subplot. That's my quick opinion on this game. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. See you later.